Hello, dear friends. Today's story continues the journey of Huyen, a woman who has endured more pain than most, yet still found the strength to raise her child and rebuild a peaceful life with Jay. Just when she thought the storms had finally passed, her former mother-in-law, Mrs. Hoa, shows up again, bringing harsh threats and a bitter, hateful stare. This time, she doesn't come to beg or persuade. She comes to lash out to intimidate Huyen and even scares little Maya to the point of tears. And when Ji finds out what happened, he doesn't hesitate for a second. He jumps on his motorbike and rides straight to Mrs. Hoa's house, determined to protect the peace of the two people he loves most. But a woman as spiteful as Mrs. Hoa, will she really let go that easily? Will Huyen have enough courage to protect the small happiness she just regained? And will the bond between her and Ja truly become the steady anchor they both need in the face of new turmoil? Let's follow The Gate of Peace, a story about courage, love, and the power of protection. Don't forget to leave a comment. Do you think Huyen should forgive or stand her ground? That afternoon, the sky felt lower than usual. The wind blew in dry, harsh bursts, kicking up red dust along the dirt road leading to Huyen's small house. From a distance, the figure of that woman appeared, walking stiffly, face-cold eyes, sharp like a blade. It was Mrs. Hoathuk's mother. She returned to the place she once called my son's home, but now every step she took onto that land felt like an intruder forcing her way in. Bibi, the little dog Huyen had raised since moving here, barked wildly at the gate. Its fur bristled, growling as if it sensed danger. Mrs. Hoa frowned and snapped. What kind of dog is this who taught it to be so rude? Inside the yard, Maya was playing with some wooden toys. She looked up, her eyes widening as she recognized the face that haunted her early childhood. The woman who once yelled at her mother and kicked them out into the rain in the middle of the night. Maya squeezed the toy in her hands and screamed, "Don't come here, Mom." Huyen, a bad person is coming into our house. Her high, trembling voice echoed, making Mrs. Hoa halt for a second. But she quickly forced a crooked smile and put on a fake, gentle tone. "My granddaughter has grown so much. Why are you calling me a bad person? I just came to visit you two." Maya stepped back, wary. Huyen rushed out from inside the house, heart pounding. She wrapped her arms around her daughter and whispered shakily, "Maya, come to Mommy. Go inside, sweetheart. Now." Then she turned toward the woman standing before her. Her eyes no longer held the fear they once did, only steadiness and a hint of pity. "What are you doing here?" Mrs. Hoa smirked and pulled off her scarf, revealing a face twisted with anger. "You really have the nerve to ask. You think you're so kind and righteous, don't you? Because of you, my son is in jail. Do you want to see him die in there before you're satisfied?" Huyen was silent for a moment, then spoke softly, calm to the point of coldness. "I didn't put anyone in jail, ma'am. His own actions led him there." "You!" Mrs. Hoa hissed and stepped forward. "If you hadn't filed that complaint, they wouldn't have taken him. You wanted revenge. You're trying to destroy this family completely, aren't you?" Huyen held Maya tighter, her eyes flashing with hurt. "You call that a family? A place where I was beaten, bruised, cursed at in the middle of the night, and kicked out while carrying a child in the pouring rain. That's what you call home. Her voice cracked, but she kept her composure. If you had spoken even one fair word back then, maybe today I would still call you mother. The wind rustled through the gourd vines overhead, shaking the small green fruits. That was the only sound in the heavy pause that followed. Mrs. Hoa clenched her fists, her voice trembling from anger or shame no one could tell. No matter what, he's still the father of that child. Don't you care about him at all? Huyen looked at Maya, then raised her head and answered slowly, every word, deliberate. It's because I care about my daughter that I had to file the case. I don't want her growing up with the same fear I had, you know. Her voice wavered. I stayed silent for years just to protect your family's reputation. But silence doesn't save anyone. It only makes people think they can keep doing wrong. Mrs. Hoa's face went pale. You dare call me the one doing wrong? Huyen didn't back down. Her gaze was sharp and unwavering. If you weren't then, why did you stand by while your son beat me? Why blame the victim just so your family wouldn't look bad? Those words struck the last bit of pride the older woman had been clinging to. Her voice rose shrill and shaking. You think you're better than me? A woman who left her husband dares lecture me. Huyen gently pushed Maya behind her and stood firmly in front of the doorway. Don't take another step, Mrs. Hoa. This house is no longer a place for you to come in and intimidate or insult anyone. The wind grew stronger, making the curtain behind her flap loudly. In the fading afternoon light, Huyen looked like a different person, no longer the woman who once bowed her head in fear, but a mother ready to protect her peace at all costs. Mrs. Hoa froze, a flicker of fear crossing her eyes. She no longer recognized the daughter-in-law who used to tremble while serving meals, who endured everything in silence. Standing before her now was a woman with a straight-back, steady voice and eyes that gave nothing away. Huyen spoke clearly, slowly. I didn't tell Mr. Bach what happened because I still care about him. But if I stay silent any longer, will you ever leave me alone? Or will you keep trying to crush the life I'm building piece by piece? Mrs. Hoa's throat tightened. And in that moment, she caught sight of Maya's eyes, innocent yet fierce, the same eyes Huyen once had when she still believed in kindness. She turned away, refusing to look any longer. Her voice was bitter to the very end. Enjoy your victory while you can. One day, you'll pay for this. Huyen didn't answer. She just held her daughter closer. The sound of Mrs. Hoa's footsteps faded into the wind blowing through the grass near the river. Bibi kept barking dry, short barks, as if driving away the lingering darkness at the gate. Maya looked up and whispered, "Mom, will she come back again?" Huyen bent down and gently stroked her hair. "No, sweetheart. No one will ever hurt us again." Outside, a light rain began to fall, but inside Huyen's heart, for the first time in years, the storm had truly passed. Dusk had fallen. The pale sunset faded over the old tile roof, leaving faint red streaks like dying embers. Huyen sat at the wooden table by the window, her hand still shaking as she held a glass of cold water. The fear and hurt on her face hadn't had time to fade. She told Je everything, her voice catching at times, as if just saying it out loud might make that woman appear at the door again. She wasn't reasonable like last time anymore, Je. She yelled. Her voice was harsh, and her eyes, it was like she wanted to swallow me and Maya whole. Maya was so scared she ran inside, but she still kept sobbing. I've never seen her that vicious before. It's like she finally showed who she really is. Ji was silent, his hands clenched on the table, his eyes darkened full of anger and a deep, quiet sadness. He suddenly stood up without a word, grabbed his keys, and headed straight for the door. Startled, Huyen called out, "Ji, where are you going?" He turned back, his voice low but firm. "I'm going to see her. I'm not letting this keep happening." The motorbike engine roared to life, echoing down the dusty road. The evening wind hit his face like ice, but inside he was burning. In his mind, he kept seeing Maya crying and Huyen shaking in fear, each image cutting deeper. He told himself, "If anyone dares touch their peace, I won't just stand by." When he arrived, the gate to Mrs. Hoa's house was still open. The sound of the TV drifted out, mixed with the heavy smell of cigarette smoke. In the yard, Mrs. Hoa was sitting on a bamboo chair. Next to her was Mr. Bach, an old gentleman with a tired face. In front of them, a cup of tea still steamed faintly, ashes scattered on the tiled floor. It was Mr. Bach who spoke first, his voice tight. "Can't you just leave that girl alone? The way you're acting, I'm ashamed for you." Mrs. Hoa looked up, her eyes blazing. "That's easy for you to say. If I don't act, she'll walk all over us. I need to make sure she knows her place, knows who's really in charge in this family." Mr. Bach stood up, his voice shaking with anger. "You think fear is how you keep a family together. The more you do this, the more you push everyone away." She let out a cold laugh, the kind that comes from someone who's lost her sense of right and wrong. "So what if they leave? I just want Maya back here living with me. When she grows up, she'll take care of Thuk. She's still our granddaughter, our blood." Right then, the sound of a motorbike pulled up at the gate. Mrs. Hoa frowned. Mr. Bach turned to look. The door opened, and Ji stepped in clothes, dusty eyes burning with controlled anger. Mr. Bach sighed and walked toward him. "Je, what brings you here?" Je didn't answer right away. He looked straight at Mrs. Hoa and spoke, his voice low but clear. "Mrs. Hoa, what exactly do you want from Huyen? Do you have any idea how terrified Maya was today?" She shot him a cold stare. "This is my house. You'd better watch your tone. Don't come here and tell me how to live my life." Ji pressed his lips together, still calm, but every word hit like a punch. "I am speaking respectfully, but you've crossed the line. If you keep threatening or harassing Huyen, I'll go to the police. The law doesn't let anyone hide behind the title of mother-in-law to bully others anymore." She burst out laughing, her laughter tearing through the air. "Oh, you dare! Huyen is still my daughter-in-law. I have every right to visit her. What did I do wrong?" Jay took a step closer, his eyes turning ice cold. "Visit. You call it visiting. When you scream at a child, when you scare a little girl so much, she has to shout, 'You're a bad person.' No, you're not visiting. You're coming to spread fear." The yard fell completely silent. Mr. Boss looked at G, his eyes turning red. He spoke quietly, voice trembling. "You're right. I've tried to talk sense into her. She just won't listen." Mrs. Hoa slammed her hand on the table, her voice shrill. "You're all against me. You scold me because of her. And you, who are you to stick your nose into someone else's family?" Without flinching, Jay answered, I'm someone who will step in when I see people being treated unfairly. Someone who can't just sit there when a mother and her child are being hurt. Do you even know what Huyen went through in this house? Do you know what your son did to her? Shut up, she screamed, face flushed red. What do you know? He was her husband. Whatever happened between them is their business. Outsiders have no right to interfere. It's because of people like you that women keep suffering. G shot back, his voice cracking with anger. You use family as an excuse to cover up violence. You use love to defend what's clearly wrong. But family isn't a free pass to hurt people. Mr. Bach flinched, tears welling in his eyes. He gripped the arm of the chair, his voice weak. Do you hear that? Do you hear what he's saying? Hua, you're turning yourself into a cruel person. She spun around, eyes glistening, but still full of pride. I did it for my son. I'm not wrong. G shook his head and spoke softly, but his words were final. Then you've already forgotten one thing: you can't keep your own flesh and blood by stepping on someone else's tears. He turned to leave. Just as he reached the gate, Mr. Bach called out, his voice hoarse and shaking. G, thank you. You're the only one who had the courage to say what I couldn't. G stopped, bowed his head slightly. I just did what needed to be done, sir. I only hope you can help keep her calm, because if she shows up to harass them again, I really will file a report. Mr. Bach nodded, tears rolling down his face. I understand. I'll stop her, whatever it takes. As Jay left, a strong gust of wind blew through the bamboo blinds. The creak of the chair, the heavy sigh of an old man, and the sound of Mrs. Hoa crying in anger all blended together like a broken, jagged melody. That night, G returned to the little house where Huyen and Maya were waiting. Bibi lay by the door, still on alert. Maya ran to him and wrapped her arms around his waist. Uncle Jay, is she coming back again? He knelt down and gently patted her head. No, Maya. I promise no one's going to scare you anymore. From where she sat, Huyen watched them, her eyes filled with gratitude and emotion. She said quietly, I was so scared, Jay. But because of you, I don't feel alone anymore. He smiled and gently held her hand. No one has the right to make you afraid anymore. I'll be here for you, for Maya, for this peace you finally found. Outside, the wind brushed lightly against the gourd vines. The small wind chime rang soft and clear, as if the world itself was saying, from now on, this house will be at peace. But in some dark corner, Mrs. Hoa still hadn't let go. She sat alone in that big house, the dim light casting shadows over her wrinkled face, twisted with calculation. Her voice came out low, mixed with tears and resentment. You really think this is over? Not a chance. I haven't lost yet. And just like that, the storm beneath the surface hadn't ended. It had only just begun. The road leading back to Huyen's house was still dotted with puddles. The fading sunset cast a soft golden tint over the old tiled roof, giving the whole scene a quiet, lonely warmth. From the kitchen, Huyen tended to the stove while glancing toward the door. When she heard the familiar sound of a motorbike stopping at the gate, her heart tightened, then softened with a mix of relief and worry. She hurried out to the porch. Jay walked in his shirt, still covered in dust. He looked tired, but his eyes were bright. Huyen looked at him, worry in her voice. You went to see her, didn't you? Aren't you afraid? Her temper is so unpredictable. I kept worrying. Something might happen to you. She gave a small smile, calm but firm. I didn't go to argue. I went to say what needed to be said. What happened is over, but if she dares show up to cause more trouble, we'll go to the police. No one has the right to scare you or Maya ever again. Hearing that, Huyen froze for a moment, then breathed out slowly. She nodded, and tears glimmered in her eyes, not from fear, but from the feeling of finally being protected after so many years carrying everything alone. Je continued, his voice steady and warm, like the late afternoon breeze. I think we should build another gate, a solid one, to keep the house safe and give Maya more peace of mind. It might be a small home, but it needs to be a place where she can sleep without being afraid someone will knock in the middle of the night. Huyen looked at him, her eyes softening with trust. Yes, you're right. I'll help you. We'll build the gate, and maybe plant more bougainvillea too, so when Maya grows up, she'll only remember this house with flowers and laughter, not arguments or fear. A quiet moment passed, broken only by the crackling firewood. Huyen went back to cooking. The smell of leafy soup drifted through the air, blending with the scent of fresh rice filling the home with a warmth she hadn't felt for a long time. Ji sat on the porch steps, watching her move around the kitchen. The light brushed against her owl, and for a moment his heart softened. It had been so long since the house felt like a home. Maya sat on the bed, hugging her notebook with unfinished math problems. She looked up with bright eyes. Uncle Jay, can you help me? I don't understand this part. G smiled gently and walked over. Let me see. Oh, here. You add these first, then subtract. See, it's easy. Maya beamed. Oh, I get it now. You're so good at this. Her laughter rang through the room, mixing with the sound of the wind rustling the gourd vines outside. Huyen looked up and smiled the kind of smile that hadn't appeared in days. Gratitude and peace filled her eyes. Jay met her gaze, his eyes soft and full of quiet meaning. He spoke just loud enough for her to hear. You see, peace doesn't need anything big. Just someone willing to protect the small things like this. Huyen nodded, her fingers tightening slightly around the wooden ladle, her voice trembling with warmth. Thank you, G. It's been so long since this house had a meal that smelled like happiness. The fire in the stove crackled steadily, casting a warm glow over all three of them. A quiet man, a woman who'd been hurt for so long, and a child learning her first numbers. Outside, the sunset faded completely, leaving only the sound of insects and the scent of wet earth after rain. For the first time in years, Huyen felt true peace, a peace that didn't come from silence, but from having someone willing to stand beside her and rebuild what had been broken. And in that moment, she understood. When someone stays not out of pity, but because they want to walk with you through every storm, that's what home really is.
sương vẫn còn đọng lại trên những tàu lăn suối. Ngoài vườn gió lạnh mùa